We start by thanking God for life. We start by appreciating the fact that we're living, and there is so much that life has to offer. So much that life has to offer. I also want to appreciate anybody that takes the time to look in here, enjoy whatever it is I am offering, imperfections and perfections alike, and continues to support me in all the positive ways possible. So I have quite a lot I would have wanted to talk about. Let me start with something that happened to me not too long ago, and it was quite informative because it helped improve my current level of spirituality. And I will tell you, I'm someone who has struggled with accepting religion, the concept of religion, the why of religion. You are the only one who can liberate your mind. You are the only one who can regulate your mind, because your mind naturally is born captive. So you are the only one who can liberate your mind, because your mind is born captive. It's something we can expatiate on or deep dive into maybe another time. So they say follow who no road. I decided to join my dad on a Catholic Christian Fathers Forum. It's called Catholic Christian Confraternity of Christian Catholic Fathers. One of the interesting things as an anecdote is that in Nigeria, an event is a 2-hour program. For the first 50 minutes, you have people shouting, come in, the event is about to start, please come into the hall. Then for another maybe 10-15 minutes, we are waiting for the chairman. And they use 30 minutes to do introductions because of the titles and the names and all the complexity that comes with that. We have another 45 minutes of recognition. Special guests, special this, additional this. And then they now rush through the content of the presentation for like 15 minutes because they have already overshot the time. I'm not saying this to mock my fellow Nigerians. I'm saying it's a unique flavor that we have in Nigeria. And when you begin to appreciate it in its fullness, you're able to enjoy the program better because you can get the laughter component. You can see the organizational prowess that they have to use in managing a maybe 1-hour content into a shorter period of time. The level of engagement and charisma that you have to deploy to be able to engage people timelessly when the program is not ready to start. So, in this program, I was able to meet the dean of Ibadanry, not a one-on-one personal meeting, but I listened to him preach. Ibadanry is the Catholic diocese in charge of where my own parish is served under. It's in Lagos, and I've never priest talk to me and my person so deeply, because he challenged a lot of those things that were constantly giving me worries and cause for concern. He talked to very critical things that shook my faith in religion as a whole, and Christianity especially, because that's what I was born into. So one of the things he said that was really, really impactful is that in as much as men of God want to make you believe that they are perfect, the men of God who preach are only as good as the society that they come from. So do not expect perfection from them. Do not entrust your total life and your total relationship with God to them. And this is a priest saying this. And then the other part of it that he delved into that was very, very critical is how religion is different from spirituality, and why religion is so heavily concerned about money. He stated clearly to everyone present that the church is the people, not the building. It's the people as the body of Christ, the people who believe in God, and the way those people carry themselves. And he asked a question that I've used to confound a lot of people who have tried to carry me further into the faith and tell me I have one or two things that I need to come learn from their church. He asked us the question. Nigeria is composed roughly 50% or so of Christians. If we believe Christianity is a religion to change the world and is the truth, the way and the light, then why is Nigeria wallowing in darkness? Why is it that we have a lot of people who are willing to perpetrate wickedness? Why is it that we have things not going perfectly or going right or in a godly manner? You look at your leaders and you believe your leaders are the problem. But he told us, ask yourself, in your home, are your children a better example? Are you a better example? What happens in your home? Before you begin to criticize the government and criticize the church, what happens in your home? Because it's from your home that the leaders emerge, that the governors emerge, that the local government chairmen emerge, that the senators emerge. The president is from home. And he said, one of the things that is destroying society, we have been relatively immune to it for some time because Africa as a whole prioritizes the family, or our previous communal lifestyle prioritized the family and the society above the individual. But we have adopted a Western lifestyle. And in adopting a Western lifestyle, the Western lifestyle prioritizes the individual and the individual purpose very often above the society and the family. The family is at the bottom rung. And the individual and the individual's purpose is prioritized to such an extent that the only thing that can regulate it is the law. It's not the community per se, it's not the family, it's the law that can regulate it. So threats of punishment is what can regulate the individual and the individual's purpose versus the society. So it's not even the society, it's the government and the legal system that constrains them. Speaking to that, you find that when individual purposes, you have 1,000 arrows being shot at an object. There's a possibility that all 1,000 of them will hit the object. But there's also the possibility that a lot of them will cancel themselves out, or they may not be able to gather enough strength to penetrate the object. But when you have 1,000 people pull one arrow, aim right, there's almost nothing that massive arrow will not be able to destroy. And that is a concept with which you look at the community, communal purpose, and the singular and individual purpose. Singular and individual purposes can be impactful, can change the trajectory of man, but very often is that communal adoption of an individual purpose that tends to get things done more critically. So, so some other things that he was able to bring forth that really struck me, because I'm reading from some of the notes I took down. It may not transition as fluently. What he said is that we have turned religion into a cult and not a true desire for God. And when you look at that statement, it's heavy, it's loaded. Because if you see religion as a true desire for God, no religion, the traditional, Christian, Muslim, no religion, Hindu, Buddhist, no religion would negatively impact any other human being. Because if you believe that God created everyone, well, let me not say no religion, because recent books of certain religions that have told them that they are to go and slaughter hordes of people. So maybe not that. But if you are able to look deep into your religious context and books, you will still find chapters that support the fact that God made everyone and everyone has a purpose. And understanding that God made everyone and everyone has a purpose, you should be able to love your neighbor. Understanding that love is active. Hello? Hello? I can't remember. Yeah. Hello, who am I speaking with? Ladi to sing, you know. Mo wà lọ́dọ̀ mọ́ mi. Ó wà ní. Okay. What's it, bro? When you come? I mean it. When he comes now, it's the one that told I didn't tell him to come or not to come. It's the one that comes. So when he comes, anything he wants to say. That one will be his own this thing. Is to let him know that this wasn't what we agreed. So, some other things that I picked up from that conversation is that love is active. Love is not love until it benefits your neighbor. And if that is a universal concept that is carried across all religions, that love is active and love is not love until it impacts your neighbor positively. Then what it means is love of self, which could be active, is not love of one's sect, which is active. Does not totally encompass the concept of love. Now, what else again? He said faith limits you to the right alternatives. And to expatiate on the statement that faith limits you to the right alternatives, it means in life at any point in time, there will be multiple options. There are always so many options, even if you may not be able to see all of them currently. But faith, your faith in God, your faith practiced by your religion, will limit you to the right alternatives. And when it limits you to the right alternatives, what it means is that you're able to make informed choices that tally with how your life and your living pattern. Choices that you would appreciate in the long run and give value to your life and living. An example is if you're cooking, let's use a cooking example. You have so many ingredients. Faith will be your knowledge of cooking or your cooking manual that lets you know that this is the right ingredients to add at the correct time, and it gives you confidence in the outcome and an understanding that the outcome will suit your original purpose in the long run. He also said, in terms of religion, faith is the what. So faith is what you should do, the alternative. Love is why, and hope is willingness. Charity is a faith sacrifice. So hope is willingness, love is the why. So even when there seems to be no sensible benefits to doing it, love becomes the why. And then faith is the what, the alternative that in a possible situation. Summing up everything that he said is, a deformed family is a deformed society, and that productivity comes from generating something, either selling or providing a good or service. One thing he said, because the church has become a fundraising organization, and not minding that aspect, because money is important in current day society, but as a fundraising organization, are the funds directed towards activities that positively impact the lives of the members of the church? That is the important question, because you have people struggling within the church and you are generating funds towards building a new edifice and tearing down the old one, when there are people within the church who are suffering. It doesn't mean that there will be no progress in improving the church, but the people should be able to feel the impact of the goodness of being members of that family. And he said that it's so bad that in most religious organizations, the poor are embarrassed coming to worship because they understand that they are setting demands. And there are some people who are comfortable being at the receiving end all the time, but very often people want to be able to give. They want to be able to contribute, and constantly understanding that there are certain demands that your religious society makes of you that you cannot meet up with, in itself creates some level of stress and disappointment and sadness. He said the community aspect of raising a child is now deficient. What it means is that the family alone cannot raise a child. The community also has a part to play in raising a child. It's not adequately catered for in our society. In the Western society, there is a small aspect of it, which is social services. But in African society, it's not structured. And in urban areas, it's really lacking. In some of the rural areas, you still find that taking place. Okay. So one other thing is that sin removes you from the presence of God. Sin removes you from the presence of God. Now, what is sin? Sin is going against God's will. Sin is going against God's will. That's just it. And it removes you from the presence of God. And when you're not in the presence of God, it makes hearing Him, understanding Him, doing His will more difficult. Another one is popularity and morality. And this is an interesting one because in the churches, when people request donations, nobody asks where the millions you have dropped for this project, where did they come from? How are you making your money? How do people view you? Are you contributing to your society positively? Even if the person is doing a legal venture but is a terrible person, terrible to his neighbors, just terrible overall. Does that portray Christian lifestyle? Does it portray your religious society positively? Does it attract people to the mission and the vision of your religion? Does it develop spirituality in others? He said a lack of faith is what causes you to steal. When you don't have hope is when you steal. For someone who, not everybody, because there will always be exceptions to the rule, but if you are very sure and within the next 30 minutes you will get food, for quite a number of people, they are willing to maintain their morals. But when you feel there are no options and you don't have faith as to where the goodness will come from or where the blessings will come from, you'll be tempted to do the wrong thing. Another thing is we do not understand the value of work. The value of work. Everyone nobody sees the value of the person who cleans. And even in the church too, that those who sweep the church, how many of you come here to say, wow, look at the ground looking clean? You just accept it as a norm, forgetting that there are people who voluntarily do such work, and very often for free. In fact, not very often, most times for free. Most times for free. No one appreciates the value of work. And even when you see them, your natural thought is to look at them, they are praying for something. This is their penance. No. There should be some appreciation regardless. And he said, compulsorily taking book parents from the home has destroyed the fabric of society. This is not about the patriarchy or the matriarchy. It's that children require the presence of someone they love to regulate and direct their behaviors. At a time when grandparents were always available, children would spend a lot of time and learn a lot of things from the grandparents. But with rural urban migration, where the grandparents are living somewhere different and the family lives somewhere different, it makes it more difficult for some of those positive benefits to be accrued. And it means your children are raised by the television, are raised by the internet, are raised by what they see online. And in the next phase, likely going to be raised by AI if you are not smart enough to curb it. And AI is a conglomeration of all the positives and ills of society. And we know that online people tend to expose things that they would normally have been regulated from exposing offline. So what it means is that we have something unregulated training the future generation. It's like a joke. I went to a primary school the other day, and the headmistress asked the children, "What's happening today?" They said that day was the Independence Day for Nigeria. So the children said that they were born in 1960, October 1st. That's what happened the next day. That they were born 1960, October 1st. So the headmistress came to tell me, that's very interesting. These children in nursery are actually older than me. They're as old as Nigeria. That's just a side. So compulsorily taking both parents from the home is destroying the fabric of society. The absence of elderly integration has weakened our institutional knowledge. Now what does that mean? It means the elderly have that historical knowledge. They may not have seen a lot in the past and understand how it impacted. They understand the promises that were made before and how they were kept, how they were fulfilled. Some of the invisible nuances that destroyed agreements of old. And when you don't have elderly integration in any organization, everybody is running, capitalism is running, is looking for only the best and the brightest minds. We preach diversity, but in truth, we only hire people who are similar to us. The absence of that elderly integration. I'll give you an example where I worked. There were two people who had been there for more than 20 something years, close to 30 years. So some of the new ideas that were coming up, very good ideas, but they were ideas that we had explored before. They could clearly tell us where those ideas had encountered issues before and why those ideas would work and what would make them not work. And interestingly, as an organization, because those people were still at lower levels and no one would listen to them, they would think of them as people who had no faith in the ideas. We fell once or twice into the same gaps of before. So this has gone long enough, but I'll stop it here and say you are the only one who can liberate your mind, because your mind is born captive. So you are the only one who can liberate your mind, because your mind is born captive. And as you are the only one who can liberate your mind, it's not a subconscious thing. It's not a passive thing. It's something that is active, that you work towards, that you strive towards, you drive towards. Because in your captive state of mind, there are people who are benefiting. And what he helped me do was to unlock my religious sphere, my spirituality, in a manner that I've struggled to accept because I had to push it aside. Why? Because it was at variance with a lot of things that I was seeing and I believed. But he helped me harmonize and balance that faith. and I'm truly grateful that all those questions he